Thanks for tuning in to the Prime Bookseller Podcast, the bi-weekly podcast discussing all things Amazon bookselling.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Prime Bookselling Podcast. I'm Eric, and we are back again, and as promised, we are talking today about the new Amazon placement fees. So if you're already selling on Amazon and you have no idea what you're talking about, what I am talking about, it's probably a good time to tune in because this is something that is costing you money right now and you probably don't even realize it. So I believe it was the launch date of this was March, but I'm not going to, do not take that as a grain of salt. I think they started charging these fees in March, but then a couple months they charged them and refunded them. And so I don't even know when actually people are being charged for these. But the point is they implemented this thing called Amazon placement fees. And what this does is for years and years and years and years, Amazon has been trying to get it to the point where instead of us shipping most of our product into one warehouse and then transferring it on semis to the warehouses that it actually should go to, they've been trying to get us to just ship everything to the warehouses they want it to go to so they don't have to incur the cost of moving stuff across the country, which I think is really stupid because for the most part, they got a semi going to that place anyways. There's probably not a whole lot of extra charge in them just throwing our stuff on there and transferring it over. But whatever, they're a company and completely focused on making money. So this is just another way for them to make money. So what they had done in the past is they would just change the algorithm where suddenly you would list items and they would go to like 8 different warehouses. And I think that they just got tons of blowback from sellers from that to the point where they would do it for a while, shut it down, do it for a while, shut it down. So this was kind of their next step in trying to get that implementation put in. So what the new implementation is that there's now 3 tiers. The highest tier is going to be very similar, probably if you've been selling books on Amazon. This is going to be very similar to that because what's going to happen is the highest tier, everything should go to one warehouse in theory. So, but in exchange for that, they're going to charge you a per item fee on every item. And like every Amazon fee, the fees for this are kind of confusing, but think about it from the perspective of probably every book on that high tier is probably going to be in the 50 to 60 cent range that they're going to charge you in a placement fee. And that you might think that, well, they're only charging me on the books that have to be moved, right? No, they're going to charge you it on every book because that's the way Amazon rolls. So, but then there's, like I said, there's 3 different fee levels. So the very top level is about 50, 60 cents a book. The second tier going down, that's going to drop it down into the 30 to 40 cent range per book. And generally now, and keep in mind that if you have no idea this is going on and you have a seller account you're selling right now, you're probably sitting at this middle level. Because I believe they defaulted every account to this middle level and you could adjust it if you wanted to. So that middle level, they're going to charge you 30 to 40 cents per item. And then typically with books, it's going to be split into two different warehouses, maybe 3. And then there's the bottom level, which has no fee. And that's where they're going to ship it off to like 6, 7 different warehouses. You're going to be shipping stuff all over the country. And so most people probably would say, well, this doesn't sound like that big of a deal. I can ship a couple different books, like I can have a box that goes here and a box that goes there and a box that goes there. And if that's the way it worked, I would agree with you 100%. Yeah, maybe it's not because, if I'm in Wisconsin and having to ship to California, that doesn't make a lot of sense because the fees do go up based on how far you ship. But the big thing is that with all of this is not that. So the big problem here is not that they're shipping it off into different places, but when you do one of these shipments, what'll happen is, let's just say I have in 250 items, and what they'll do is they'll literally, I have 250 items, they'll ship 240 of them to one warehouse, and then like 5 to 1, 3 to 1, and 1 to another. And that's where it becomes annoying, and that's where people start looking at paying these fees, because it's really ridiculous to ship one book to one warehouse. And I will be honest with you, I feel like since they implemented this, they have taken steps in the API to make it more balanced across. So all the warehouses, there's more items going to each warehouse. I feel like that's happened, but that might just be me. And there might be other sellers out there that are like, no, it's garbage. It's going to, and rest assured that there's always at least one shipment that has one item in it. And why that is, I'll never understand, but that's just how Amazon does it. And I haven't seen this a lot lately, but then I've also seen in scenarios where you'll have two shipments. You'll have like a shipment of 50 items and a shipment of 40 items, and you look at the shipments, like the API split it into two separate shipments, but the comical part about it is that it's the same shipment. It's going to the same exact place. So basically, because you have to understand that per shipment, so think of per UPS label you print off, there's probably a fixed fee for that. So let's just say you have 5 boxes and you ship them all together. That's going to be considerably cheaper than if you were to ship, create 3 labels for these 3 boxes and then go back and create a brand new shipment and create 2 labels for that shipment. That's going to cause more of an expense because UPS is just going to charge you like some sort of flat fixed rate. And they're doing this. They're just creating 2 boxes that I have to create different shipments for, and it's raising the cost of shipping. It's really, really bizarre. And I'll never try to understand how they do why they do the things they do, but let's just hope for the sake of my sanity that they're doing this for a good reason. So, but the point is, with this episode, what I want everybody to walk away with is first to realize that you're being charged these fees, because I'm going to venture to guess that there are a huge amount of sellers that don't follow what the new fees are, and they're completely oblivious to the fact that this fee even came into effect. And depending on how you run your business, the fees are significant enough that it could be cutting into some people's margins big enough that they might be losing money now and not even realize it. So the first thing is to understand that these fees are put in there. And then what's the best course of action? I have a couple friends that are much more into data than I am and stuff like that, and have a lot more patience to like run tests to see how this stuff works out and looks to them. And the results have been all over the place. Some people have chosen to go to the highest tier because they feel like shipping everything to one place and just the amount of labor that it takes to not have to split it into multiple shipments offsets the cost of the fees. Other people have said absolutely not. They turned it on to the lowest one. Me personally, I have not worried too much about it and have simply just left it at the middle one, because that's the way it's always been. And I know that this is accruing another 70 cents in fees to each item that I ship in via FBA. So I just know that as long as I can cover that 70 cents in margin, then it should be all right. And so far, I'm not too overly concerned about it. I think that that middle tier is fine for a bookseller, but the big caveat to this is that it all depends on your margins, and so you got to be very wary of how much you're making per book to see, can I cover an extra 70 cent fee? And the results I've heard from people on Facebook groups and things like that, that the results vary greatly by where you are located. See, so to explain that is that even though I have to ship to multiple different warehouses, I'm in the middle of the country. So first of all, I haven't really seen it where they're making me ship to like one side of the country or the other side of the country. And I think that's because I'm books, and most books they can easily get. Like if they put it in a warehouse in the center of the country, they can get it easily to anywhere in the country. But so it's going to really depend greatly on your type of business, because if you're doing non-books, you're probably going to find out that and you might be on the East Coast and they might be telling you to ship half your stuff to the West Coast. Well, that's going to be a huge expense for you. But being that I'm in the middle of the country, first of all, for me to ship something to California, ship something to New York, probably very similar. Also, there's a lot more things that being strategically placed in the middle of the country, they can ship anywhere they want in the country and get it to them in time. So a lot of the stuff can just sit in the middle of the country. So it's all really going to be dependent on your business model and what you're selling and stuff. So you're going to have to run tests to figure out what the best action for you is. I can definitely tell you that more than likely I have not had anybody run a test straight on the free version of it, the one that accrues no fees. But I'm pretty confident that one is not going to be more profitable, or going to be cheaper, because literally you are going to have a ton of shipments that ship 3-4 items to different places around the country. So I would avoid that one. I would at least do the middle one. If you wanted to turn on the bottom one for a limited time, just see how bad it is for you. Maybe you can make it work. But I would at least start with the first one. And in some instances, I had a client that was shipping in a ton of hazmat stuff. And they were just sending a ton of one items to different warehouses around the country. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense, because it was hazmat. The guy was paying like $14 to get this one item shipped into the warehouse. So we looked at it and we said, he's got to go up to the upper level. And since going up to the upper level, it doesn't necessarily cut it down to just one shipment, but it's like 2 decent sized shipments. So it makes sense for his business model. So you really have to look at your business model and figure out what is the right level for you. And if you're just really not sure, my recommendation is just you can temporarily go down to the first one and just see how it works, but more than likely you're going to end up at the second one. So if you don't want to monkey around with testing, I would just plot myself at the second one. And just remember, with everything you sell, you need to have a good idea of what your profit margin is, so you understand, is this 70 cents going to eat away at all the profits I'm making, or if this 70 cents is okay. And the other thing you have to think about is just remember, everything you send into an Amazon warehouse is going to be charged that fee, whether it sells or not. And as a bookseller, not everything is going to sell. Inevitably, you're going to get rid of a small amount of your books. It's just the way it works. So you also have to keep that in mind as well, so that you don't think, well, I'm making $3 per item, so when I sell an item for 70 cents, that 70 cents isn't going to matter. I'm just going to make $2.30 instead of $3. Well, no, it's not really that, because if every 1 out of 50 books that you ship in is not sold and you have to dispose of, well, there's another 70 cents that you're compensating for. So you have to have a really good grasp on how much this is affecting your business. And that is why I would strongly recommend, this is why I go back to the thing is that if I don't think I mentioned this, but I think this should be pretty clear. These fees are associated with FBA products. So if you are not shipping in an item to Amazon, these fees do not exist. And that is, again, another reason why merchant fulfilled is such an appealing business model. Because I would say that, let's just say there's 100 fees on Amazon. Probably 80 of those fees are associated with FBA, and then the other 20 are associated with MFN. And let's not keep in mind, there's probably, I can't, off the top of my head, in a very short period of time, I can't think of a single fee that's associated with MFN that isn't associated with FBA. There probably is one, but not sure what it is. So just to give you an idea that if you're listening to this and thinking, God, they just keep stacking fees upon fees upon fees. Well, the solution one of the easiest solutions to that problem is to simply switch to MFN. Because MFN, yeah, it's not sexy. It's not what people are talking about on the internet. But when you all break it down to it, it's a business model that Amazon doesn't really mess with. They don't change it. They don't make big policy changes that screw everybody's business up. But they will do this every year with FBA. They are going to continue to do it because until people stop using FBA and isn't just this red hot on fire thing, they're always going to have storage capacity. They're always going to have to worry about how much room they have in their warehouses. So just another one of those pimps of why MFN might not be such a bad thing. So all right, with that, we're going to wrap this episode up. I promise you when we come back, if you remember, before our little lapse in time here, we had taken a break, or we had kind of veered off, and we were going to start having some actual business content into the podcast, and that's what I'm going to swing back to in the next episode. I do not know what that specific topic is going to be. Actually, I think I do know what that topic is going to be. I think we're going to talk about starting a business out of opportunity and starting a business out of necessity, and which one you want to be in when you're starting your Amazon business. And this is a big lesson. This is a critical lesson that even if you're not interested in, again, selling on Amazon, this is something you need to learn about if you're interested in starting any business. So we'll talk about that a little bit on the next episode. And I want to again remind everybody, jump over to Kings Ridge Media if you're interested in learning about how we can help you source books for your business. Check out the KRM wholesale program. Check out the automation program. We are in the process of launching a new mailing list, which just for a beginning seller gives a bunch of actionable tips to help you on your journey to selling on Amazon. You can find that under Just Basics on the Kings Ridge Media website. And as of right now, that mailing list is not active, but it will be active probably within the next 2 weeks. You'll start seeing emails come through. But feel free to get signed up for it now. So as soon as it does, you start getting the emails. I want to again thank everybody for their continued support, and we'll see you 2 weeks on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Prime Bookseller Podcast. Join us for the next episode as we discuss all things Amazon bookselling.